Welcome to the Gearbox Podcast, where we dive deep into the dynamic world of automotive repair and ownership. I'm your host, Jimmy Purdy, an experienced technician turned shop owner with a passion for sharing insights, stories, and conversations with industry leaders. This is the Gearbox Podcast. Well, I really enjoy your stuff out there, especially your blitzes you put out.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
pretty awesome stuff, man.
Gosh, we're on like episode 170 something right now. And when we first started it, everybody was like, we want to do 25 minutes or less. Like all the shop owners are like, hey, I'm doing this while I'm walking my dog. I'm doing this on a quick trip to the gym. Don't get too long. So I think every once in a while, if I have a guest, I don't ever do it by myself, but if I have a guest, I'll get like to an hour or something. But it's just me. It's just like the quick in and out. And it's kind of weird how it started. It started out as like a private podcast that we emailed out to everybody. And then the rules and regulations changed so that we could create our own. And so boom, here we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you know how the shorts are just blowing up like crazy. So I like how you made it like the blitz, right? Like it just made sense. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I fell into that, right? Like that's just one of those accidental things. Like we called it the Weekly Blitz because I have a background in football and everything. Now, hindsight is like naming your auto repair shop, right? Like if, some people name their shop and then like 5 years later, they're like, oh, I wish I'd given it a different name. Like people look for it and it gets confused for like football podcasts all the time. But it is what it is.
But doesn't everybody regret? I mean, so I named the shop Shifting Gears, right? And it's like, it just seemed like the best thing at the time, right? And it's like,
right.
And I did a lot of transmission rebuilding, and I still do a fair amount, but not as much as I did when I took over. And it's like, I have the same problem. It's like, well, if you want to be more auto repair, or it sounds like a motorcycle gang, or it sounds like, I mean, you can just take like anything and make it sing like, so what do you want to be named? Like Car Fix?
Well,
and not that that's a bad name, but
yeah. And that's the other thing, with my company AutoFix, like if to do it over with, I'd have probably done it differently. But I think what happens is the shop owners are like, oh, this is a cool name because it's, it talks about this or that. But no offense to any non-auto repair people out there, but you really kind of have to dumb it down for the consumer, right? When you're naming a shop and think about what the consumer might want to hear or see or read versus what, maybe a gearhead might want to see.
Yeah. I think we all do that though, right? We target for we like target for what we want to be, or like
right. Oh yeah.
Like we're gonna market to ourselves, and it's like that's like the worst thing. I do it with the podcast, with the radio show. I do it. I mean, it's so hard to get away from it because it's the only people we surround ourselves with, right? It's the podcast we listen to. It's the information we listen to. So we're like hardwired to like almost market to that group of people, and it's like, well, you got to think like a consumer. Well, how the hell do you do that? I've never been able to afford to take my car to a shop. So
right. Yeah.
That's the reason why I'm a shop owner,
Right. Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Names are, that's tough. That's definitely a sweet spot there. Cause you just think about all the different names, and then you reach out to different companies, right? That have like different, like AutoFix coaching company, right? It's like,
right.
It's like, oh man, how do I find this online? And you're trying to like use the right Google algorithm to find the, Google the coach you want to use or the shop you want to find. And it's like, what does it even really matter in this day and age?
Yeah. And things like, websites are still important, but for the most part, people are searching on Google. They go to Google My Business. There's some other great products out there now where you can schedule online. So people are going to your Google My Business page and scheduling online without ever even looking at your website. Now, the Google bots and everything might have picked it up on the backside and made sure that your name came up first. But outside of that, it's just weird. It's like, I remember when we had our shop, gosh, I'm dating myself. Internet was kind of just becoming a thing. And I went on and built a website, and we had a snow day. And so all the employees stayed home. I went to work and just told people and made phone calls. And while I was there, I was like, oh, I'll build a website. And then shortly after that, Facebook became a thing. So I built a Facebook business page, and we ranked at the top of the search rankings for years without doing any Google AdWords or anything else, just by having a homemade website and a Facebook page. So
That's like back in the easy days, I guess, with the simple days. But
yeah,
now you gotta have freaking, the X, right? And then you gotta have
yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I mean, now what's the latest one? Well, not the latest one, but
Well,
you
you've
got the
got Threads for
yeah.
Meta, and then all these others. Like there's so many different ones.
There's so
You got
many.
TikTok, yeah, everything. And like you were talking about YouTube Shorts earlier, um, my YouTube Shorts get 10 times the amount of views the podcast gets, which is kind of weird because I always thought, oh, somebody will go to the short and then go to the podcast, and that'll increase the YouTube views on podcasts. But it hasn't. Like, it's crazy. Like, I'll drop a YouTube short, or usually I try to do 3 at a time, and each one of those will have over 500 views at the end of the day. So I don't know if that says a lot about our attention spans as Americans now. Like, okay, I want to listen to Chris for less than a minute because that's all I can take, I guess.
That's all I can take.
Yeah.
With no substance. Well, you never know, and it's one of those things where it feeds the beast, and it helps like later on. I feel like where
Right.
they might save that. Oh, I really like that, and they save it. And with the anticipation, it's like most people that buy a book, they buy the book because it's like once I buy it, then maybe I'll actually read it. But it sits on the shelf for 6 years before they actually pick it up and read the thing.
Right.
But at least it's like in the back of it's in their headspace, and I think that's the important thing. Is like,
well, I have people all the time. They're like, "Oh, I've been listening for 2 years, and I finally got up the courage to call or whatever. I went to I went to SEMA last year and was working a booth, and somebody came up and was like, "Oh, I'm a long time listener," and then so we started talking, and then now he's a client. He's doing great things. And then I just had somebody towards the end of last week. They're like, "Hey, I was searching for specific help. I think they were looking for how to do like fleet pricing, fleet contracts, and I had done some of those and done some YouTube shorts. And so that's what the shop owner, that's what she was looking for. And she found my YouTube, and she goes, I just binge watched your stuff for like 6-7 hours, and then was like, why don't I just email him and reach out to him?" And then that's what she did.
I forgot you could actually do that.
Yeah, yeah, because it's weird because it's like you're on there and it has the website, but then you have to go to the website to book a call. But anyway, people people go down the rabbit hole of the podcast or watching videos or whatever, and next thing you know, 3 hours has gone by.
Yeah, but it's great information, and it's definitely one of the things that really helped me get out of the. I mean, I feel like maybe we're always in kind of a hole, but get out of, start understanding how to start climbing out of it. Is just
Right.
that free information, and like without that, you can't even start building the foundation to afford that coaching company or afford that next step.
Right.
So it's like it's so valuable. And yeah, I mean, anybody that puts out that information, it's just awesome because I know how much it helped me and was able to get my stepping stones. And I did the same thing. I listened to a lot of those kind of podcasts, a lot of that YouTube video stuff. And once I found that company that I listened to, it happened to be at Apex. I'm like, I'm ready to go. And it's like, well, you want to hear what I'm like? I already know. Like,
Right. Yeah.
I already know. Like, I'm good to go. And it's like you on the other hand don't have that kind of information. You're just putting it out there, and you're gaining these clients without even knowing it. And I feel like that's for all social media marketing. It's not like a direct return on ROI. Like, you just don't know how many people are actually viewing, or if that's even of any substance to you, until finally they come in, and it's like, yeah, do everything you said. Like, well, that was an easy sell. Huh.
Right. Well, and that's it. I mean, it makes the sell way easier. And people that are like you said, oh, I've been listening to you for a year. Yeah, I'm just ready to get going. And then you just start and you go. Every once in a while I have somebody that'll call me and set up a session, and they're like talking to 4 other coaching companies, and they get on and they're like, convince me why I should choose you. I'm like, if you don't know by now, then you shouldn't choose me at this point. Like, if you're just coming in through it straight out of nowhere and you haven't listened to any of my content, you don't know me personally, then I'm probably not a good pick, or one of my coaches are not a good pick.
Interesting. Yeah.
What we do is relationship based coaching. I fought with this for a long time trying to figure out the word for it, and it actually hit me at STX. I was sitting there Monday night. I flew in. I was having a steak, and I'm like, Chris, why has this been so hard? And it just popped in my head, and it's like, well, what you do is relationship based coaching. I used to say concierge type coaching because we really try to we keep our coaching client load really low as compared to some of the other coaching companies. And so we really work hard on that one-on-one personal connection. And it just kind of struck with me. So there's going to be a little bit of a lag between the time we record this and the time it comes out. But by the time this comes out, everybody should see a lot more information from AutoFix on relationship-based coaching, what it is. I just did a blog post on why you should fire your coach. And everybody was like, Chris, what the heck are you doing? I'm like, well, sometimes you outgrow your coach and it's time to move on. Just like employees, there are certain people that will get you to certain milestones in your repair shop, but that can't get you to the end. So, we're
Interesting way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's getting the different angles, right? Or the one thing I've come to realize is what you think your shop's going to be when you open it is not what it becomes.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, does
percent
that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
for me anyway,
Yep.
like it's just like really, really weird and kind of maddening because you spend so much time doing your vision and your mission statement, and no one ever tells you that you're going to change it every year almost.
Right.
Depending on the tides and like what's coming in, like, and I really, really, really want to work on these vehicles, this type of vehicle. I want to do this type of repair, but then this other repair is coming in a lot, right? And I'm spending all this money trying to I'm like, what? Just go with the flow, like,
Right.
and then, but that's not what I wanted to do. It's like, so what? You're a business owner now. Like, it's
Right.
time to make money. But then the technician side of you, no, that's not what I want to fix though. And then you
Right.
have that technician, manager, entrepreneur kind of like fight going on in your head, and you got to constantly try to like, appease one or the other. And it's just interesting that you say that because it's true. It's like the coaching company that you might be with is fantastic for 4 years, but then just the market changes or whatever changes. And now it's like, or you get more employees or you grow like you wanted to, but it's not what you thought it was going to be. And that's for me anyway. Like, it's definitely not what I thought it was going to be.
Right. Well, most shop owners, I had so many thoughts. One thing is as a shop owner, you can't be so inflexible that you can't roll with the punches and pivot and go into another area. People that are stubborn and hard-headed and don't want to change, those are the ones that call you after 5 or 6 years and they're like, hey, I'm going to go out of business really soon if I don't do something now. And you're like, great, how much time do we have? And they're like, oh, I'm probably a month from going out. You're just
The
like,
end of the
oh,
month, and it's the 20th.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're like, but I've been listening for 3 years and I knew I should have done this, but I just never did it. So don't be that person. Number one. And number two, you got to roll with it. You got to be flexible. I don't know how many times. Well, and here's the other thing. Like, technicians are great, and I'm not a technician. Like, I wouldn't even try to Google and do something to your car because that's not who I am. I'm not a technician. I don't have the patience for it. I'm like the typical ADD, ADHD entrepreneur. There's a funny story. When I was younger, my dad would take me to the wood shop and we would work on carpentry stuff, and he would take my brother to the garage and work on car stuff. And like one day I was sitting there holding a flashlight. My dad was wiring up some brakes on a trailer, and I'm getting frustrated because I don't have a clue what's going on. I was probably maybe 8 or 9, right? Like, all I know is I'm smart enough to hold the flashlight. And
hopefully you're doing that right. We've all been yelled at for doing that.
Well, no, right? Like, you sandwich, beer, flashlight, right? So I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, why? What are you doing? Can you explain some of this to me? And just serious as anything I've ever seen. He just like stopped what he was doing and he looked over his shoulder, and he wasn't even looking at me. Like, he was looking halfway between the wiring and me. And he just kind of cocked his head and he said, son, if I teach you everything I know plus everything you know, you'll know more than me. And then just turned around and went back to wiring up the brakes. And that's it. That was the conversation. And I turned off the flashlight and went in the house. And then that was it. I never went out to work on cars with him again. So anyway, I'm the first person you want to call to fix your auto repair shop, but the last person you want to call when it comes to fixing a car. So
Especially wiring and trailer brakes, it sounds
yeah,
like.
wiring trailer brakes for sure. So the one thing I want to come back to though, because I started talking about technicians and how great people they are. They want to help people. They want to make sure they're not screwing people. They want to make sure that the customer's getting everything right. But when a lot of people step aside, I had this conversation with a shop owner or a wannabe shop owner last week. He's like, oh, well, I can do it better. I can do it cheaper. I can do it this way. I can do it that way. And I'm like, well, what's your business plan? And he's like, why do I got to have a business plan? I'm just going to start doing cars in my garage and everything be fine. I'm like, until it's not. I go, what happens if your homeowners association shuts you down? Or, I had this situation a couple of years ago. Great technician, started a shop. All of his friends wanted to come to him, but they were all broke. So what did he do? He let all of his friends charge stuff to him at a reduced rate, and he never got paid. And he was out of business in like 45 days. He bootstrapped it, started it, thought he was helping out all these people, but everybody was just taking advantage of him. Like,
Yeah, they don't see it that way either.
Yeah, they don't. And then when you have somebody's like, oh, I'm charging $65 an hour for labor. And then you try to hire them some technicians and get the technicians some training. And you're like, hey, if we do the math on this, our labor rate needs to be $149 an hour. And they're like, oh, I just can't do that. It's been done 1,000 times correctly.
Yeah. And I think I've always seen like that technician opening a shop thinks they can hire other technicians that will be just as skilled as them and willing to ride that wave like they are. Like, come on, man, let's do this. I'll pay you 30, 40 bucks an hour or whatever. It's like, well, your labor rate's 85 an hour. Yeah, I'll split it with you. What do you mean split it? You think he's going to be 100% efficient?
Right.
Not even on a good day. Right. And it's like, so yeah, it's like then your effective labor rate starts dropping down and it's like, well, I'm not making any money and he wants more money. And it's like, just turns into, then everyone hates each other. I mean, I'm sure you've heard it 100 times.
What happens is at that point, they reach out to somebody like me and I'm doing the math, looking at the income statement, because about half the time they don't have an income statement, and I'm looking at it. And let's just say, for instance, their labor cost for the week was $3,000, but they only collected like $4,000 in labor. Well, by the time you get everything in there, like they basically made nothing on all the labor that they sold.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't know.
Yeah. Know? Well, and then those are the people that don't pay the state tax because they're like, oh, we're going to have our sales tax. I'm just going to keep that. I'm going to pay it next month when I have all the money I have. Or, they don't pay the IRS. People like that get in trouble. Just because they're short on cash, and it's an easy fix. Like I've had people that have come to me and, I look at their parts margin and it's like 11%. And I'm like, how are you pricing this? What are you doing? And we get in and look at it and I'm like, you're actually losing money, because by the time we look at comebacks and you're giving 3% on your credit card and everything like that, you're basically breaking even or losing money on your parts margin.
Yeah. And on parts margin, I mean, that's a touchy subject, I think, for most, especially new shop owners, like getting into it, right? Like they want to just buy because they know that their customers or clients, they'll go down to the parts store and they can match it and they'll see, oh, you're upcharged. I can get this part for the X amount and you're charging me more. So everybody wants to give parts away at cost.
Which is great, but your labor rate's got to be $300 an hour. So if you can sell your labor for $300 an hour, then knock yourself out. I guess that's okay. But the whole parts thing is just this huge web of lies, right? Like, especially when it comes to dealer parts and everybody else. Like if you have an account at a dealership and I have an account at a dealership, the same dealership, we're both in the same town, chances are we're probably going to be buying at different levels. And then depending on if you're their customer or if you can walk into their counter and get a part, all of us are going to have different pricing. And then we have the other intricate web of lies on top of that, where they put your cost in there. But in order to make you feel better about the cost you're paying, they throw this magical list price out there that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. And so it's just out there. And so you have these people that do all that. But yeah,
and they
it's a
sell it at
battle.
list. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
I've had other shops say that I'm ripping people off because I'm selling dealer parts over list, and it's like, why are you even looking at that?
right. Yeah.
That has nothing to do with anything. Like you said, it's like it's just like a fairy tale number. It's like put your
Right.
margins where they need to be, right? And
Well,
I don't know how to explain that better.
10 to 12 years ago, you could actually request that the dealer not add the list price on there. And like some of the jobber warehouses, like you could be like, hey, I don't want my people seeing lists. Like we're gonna do it, we're gonna enter it, it matrixes it, and it goes out. Um, what I would say to those people is the only reason you're not able to get more than dealer's list is because you're just not, like, you're not putting any effort into it. I've got Euro shops that only buy dealer list parts or only buy dealer parts, and their margins are 50% plus. And it's because they don't pay attention to the list. They matrix their stuff, and then they have great service. Like, these are some really, really nice facilities, like facilities you would want your daughter, your wife, your mother, even your mother-in-law to go into. Um, and that's the value. Like, people want to go to those places because they're great at what they do. They have a great reputation, and you know, um, people usually complain about price when they're pissed off about something else. And so if you
Yeah,
do
and it
everything else really good,
usually has nothing to do with the shop. Usually something
yeah,
personal at home.
yeah.
We all
Could
deal
be,
with that.
yeah, yeah. It could be something at home, but it's almost, the way you made them feel. Like if you didn't get their car back to them when it was promised, or, I don't care if you gave the parts away. If you told somebody that the bill was going to be $247, and when they came up, it was like $447, and they weren't prepared for that, they're probably going to be pissed off about it. Whether whether you didn't do the estimate right, or broke a part on a customer's car and then tried to charge them for it, or whatever. Like, usually
Well,
people,
they instantly assume you're ripping them off.
exactly. And there's so much stuff out there now. Gosh, like, I'm going to give this like 2 seconds, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. The stupid tire show on Netflix
Oh, come
is,
on, that's pretty good.
it is not good. Like, that is like you're going to have half the people that
The
watch
car
that
wash
on
was always
Netflix.
my idea. I wanted to do a bikini car wash.
Half the people that watch that on Netflix are going to think that that's really how shops are ran. And I'm going to tell you, maybe some shops in the country are, because there are some sketchy places out there, but 95% of the shops in America are not ran that way. And that's not how they are. And somebody was like, oh, it's pretty cool, you got to watch it. I'm like, no. I will never watch it. I will never give that another minute of my time.
Yeah, it was a little over the top. But
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, where like, and I hope you're right. I hope like the majority of shops are not like that. I mean, I worked in shops that were almost exactly like that, except we didn't sell tires. That would be the
Yeah.
only difference. It's like, so I've been there and I know, and it's like, and that's why the importance of like spreading awareness and like making people understand like effective communication. I think that's the most important thing. Pricing correctly, knowing what you're supposed to be pricing and why and where that money's going. Not that you're just gonna go buy a condo or a yacht or something, right? Like, no,
Right.
this is just like the bare minimum to cover costs, and then you start realizing like, wow, I've upped my prices a lot, and I'm able to actually take a paycheck. And
Right.
I think in your mind, like, everyone gets wrapped up with raising their labor rates, right? There's the coaching stigma right there. I don't want to get a coach. All they're going to do is tell me to raise my rates, and then I'm going to lose all my customers. And it's like, until you realize that $10 an hour bump in your labor rate, which is pretty significant for your bottom line, is only adding $30 to $40 on most people's repair orders.
Right.
And I don't know why, for me it was really hard for me to compute that and understand that. I'm just like, $10 an hour. I was like, do you understand what you give everyone a raise? Like,
Right. Well, and we do, and that's the point. But I will tell you, and I've repeated this several times, and several other people have asked me about this. Like, oh, all you coaches want to do is raise the labor, fix the parts margin. Yeah, because that's all the stuff that's screwed up. That's the easy stuff to get, and that's the stuff that's going to keep you in business long enough for us to do the rest of the stuff that needs to be done. Um, 90% of the shops that reach out to me are under the labor rate where they should be. Like 10% are good, or maybe even a little high, but 90% of them are, and we're doing the math on it. We're taking our actual costs from the technicians, we're adding our taxes and our tax and benefit load to it, and then we're doing the multiplier for it. And I'm like, you're too low. Um, so everybody can complain about the coaches and adding that. And there was an article a couple of years ago where a big guy in the industry put that out there, and I started to do a podcast rebuttal to it. But then I recorded it and watched it back, and I was a little hot. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to delete this and put it in the bin. And I wrote a blog piece to go with it. But I mean, if 90% of the shops in America are undercharging on their labor, that's one of the things that has to be fixed. Like, and it's the easiest thing to fix. Like, I had a shop owner several years ago. I want to say he was in the mid 60s. This was like maybe 3 years ago, mid 60s on his labor rate. He's like, Chris, it was one of the guys, Chris, I'm going to go out of business. I've got like a month maybe to fix this. And he was also one of the ones that was barely breaking even on the labor rate. And I was like, look, we did the math. In order for you to make money, in order for you to just survive at this point, we need to get to like 118 and some change on the labor rate. And he's like, I'll never do that. I'll go out of business. I'm like, you just told me you're going to go out of business anyway. So at this point, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And
Fair.
and so we went from the mid 60s to like 119. Nobody noticed. Nobody said a word. And it finally got, I mean, as far as I know, the guy's still in business today, but it righted the ship enough that, a year later, we were actually working on employee handbooks and AFLAC for employees and some of the good fun stuff that you can give to your people. But you can't do any of that without charging properly. You can't, like I had a lot of clients that, went to STX. They closed for a week or sent half their shop this time. And then they're going to send the other half of their shop to Vision in March to get the training they need to make sure that we can do what we do. To jump backwards too, on the tires thing. We spent 30 years. Like, I've been in the industry over 30 years. I started in 1992 writing tickets. So 32 years we've been trying to get rid of that stigma in the industry. And I think we were finally making headway, and now we'll see how many steps backwards this takes us.
It's just a Netflix show. No one pays attention anyway.
Gosh, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to figure out how many people have watched that on Netflix. There's got to be a way to see how many people have watched it. But
I think for me, for where our shop's at, anyone that watches that, I think when they come into our facility, they realize the difference, and it's not that. And I think that helps.
Right.
If anything, I don't think. I mean, everyone's got to get their car fixed, so it's not like they're like, "Oh, I'm not going to go to shops anymore." If that's what it's going to be like, I'm never going to a shop again. Like, oh well, good luck, because your shit's gonna break. Like, you gotta eventually you gotta get it
but
fixed. So when they walk into an actual facility that's not that, they're like, oh, and then they see the sticker shock price and they're like, well, I get it. Like, I could either pay that to come here, or I could go look for the economy shop that's going to be that tire shop. So I think it's, I don't know, maybe for the industry, like you said, as a whole, it's not a great thing, but it's great for the shops that are elevating the industry.
Yeah, but in that same vein, we haven't talked about it. Like, there's a ton of misinformation. Like I don't go through a day where there's not somebody, they're just doing it for clicks. It's clickbait, right? Like,
Yeah.
somebody's like, oh, I went to a repair shop, and the guy said he couldn't fix my car because he didn't have the right scan tools. And then you have all the people on there is like, oh my God, I can't believe this person didn't have the right scan tool for that. And then you have the shop owner get on there and is like, well, I wanted to get it, but I'm not able to bootleg it from Chrysler or GM or anybody anymore. So I just stopped paying for it. And then now I don't have it, or because I can't get it for $10, why would I ever pay $300 a month for it? Whatever. I don't know. And then you've got these seemingly made up videos of typically they're young women, not bad looking, doing some sort of a video where the dealership did me wrong, or this person did me wrong, or this repair shop did me wrong. Now, I'm not saying some of that's out there, but mostly it's for clicks, right? Like people are doing that to get clicks and the views, and it's controversial. So again, we're not only fighting the tie, it's just it's just misinformation, I guess. So
Yeah, and that is the other bad side about the social media, and like believing everything that's handed to you. And I have that problem with technicians in the shop today. Like they look something up on online on YouTube or on a forum, and they take it verbatim, right? And it's like, this is just supposed to be information gathering. You're supposed to look at like 3 or 4 different resources and come up with your own conclusion. And
right,
I think that's the problem with this clickbait of the misinformation is they're taking this information and they're just running with it, right? Like I'm sure you have information out there. I've done the same thing watching other coaching companies free information, and I just take that and I implement that directly into my shop, right?
right.
Or what about the well, I called around and checked labor rates around me, and I upped my labor rates because I was the lowest in the area. Like, what kind of, like, where did you get
That's a
that from?
that's the Oreo method, right? I'm gonna call 10 shops. I'm gonna average them all together. I don't want to be the cheapest. I don't want to be highest, but I'm gonna be at the one in between. And again, if you're out there listening and that's how you do it, there's actual formulas for this to tell you what your labor rate should be. You don't have to do the Oreo method. And then the other thing is, like, people in my town used to call me when we had our shop, and we had caller ID, so we knew who it was. And then they'd ask what our labor rate was. Do you think I ever told them the truth? No. I mean, like, seriously.
I have the same conversation. Yeah, and I mean, it's a small town, so when they call, I can recognize their voice, and I tell them, like,
Right,
what do you want to know for? And it's like, well, I'm thinking about upping my labor rate this year. I just want to know where you're at. And it's like, and I just explain to them, look, and here's what you do to get that number. Oh, well, where were you? And it's like, you're missing the point. I'm trying to give you this
right,
information that's extremely valuable, that cost me a lot of money to figure out, and you just want to, throw a number out there. And it's like, and then I have a variable labor rate. So I don't have,
right.
and that's what I tell. I don't have a standard labor rate. It's all over.
Well,
It just depends on what comes in and where we need to be to make that my labor GP, right? And it really even can come down to which technician I'm giving the job to. And I
right,
think I get a lot of pushback on that too. It's like, you mean you change how much you charge the job depending on which technician? It's like, yes, because they're not all as efficient as the other
right,
one.
right. And it
And
could
I don't
be,
know if that's right or wrong, but it
different.
works for us.
I think it's interesting. It's also for different skill levels. Like if you have somebody that's super great at steering and suspension and brake repair, and that person can do a 10-hour job in like 7 hours, um, which even you in California, if I remember correctly, you're in Paso Robles,
Yep.
or Paso Robles is what I like to say. But when I got out there, that's how I wanted to say it, being a Texan. But I got there, and all the gringos were like, "No, it's Paso Robles
It's
and
Robles, yeah, with a W.
Robles," and then it's I always want to say Avila Beach, but it's Avila Beach.
Avila,
Anyway,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so that's beside the point. Um, but if you have technicians that are quick and everything, like in California, you got to pay by the hour. You got to pay your technicians by the hour. So it makes sense for you to do things differently there than what somebody does in Texas and everywhere else. The other thing is like, if we could get everybody in Paso to be honest, how many shops do you have there? Independent shops.
Oh, I would say in the right around 15 that
Okay.
I can think of right off the top of my head.
So if we could get all 15 of those shops to be honest, all of their business structures are completely different. There's not two of you there that have the same rent, that have the same overhead, that have the same technician costs. Like, you're all different, because you're going to have somebody that's paying above board, then you're going to have somebody down the street that's paying cash under the table or whatever, because that's just the way it is. Typically everywhere, even worse in California for some reason. But anyway, none of those shops have the same basis for being a business. So why would you let another shop determine your labor rate? Makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it makes less sense when you break it down like that too.
Yeah. And so and here's the other thing. We're talking about misinformation and then shop owners calling other shop owners trying to set their labor rate. Like, I love the Facebook groups, but about half those people in those Facebook groups shouldn't be telling anybody how to run a business.
That's a
Like,
fair point too.
every time I get in there, I'm not allowed in most of those Facebook groups. I'm in a couple groups, but when I'm in a group like that, I'm doing it as Chris Cotton, former MSO, not as a coach. And so I don't ever mention where I'm at, what I do, anything else like that. Now, if you click on my link and go to my profile, you figure it out. But the couple of ones that I've been in, I just read the stuff and I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, there's in 100 years, I would never tell anybody to do that. So if you're in those groups, great. But I think you'll probably know, hopefully, the people to listen to, the people not to listen to, stuff like that. So,
Well, information gathering, right? And that just goes back
right,
to the point of like, listen, hear it, understand it, and then
right,
implement it with other forms, but don't just like copy, cut, paste. And
right,
and I think we're kind of we're wired that way. For one, as technicians, like as you want to find a solution to the problem, right?
right,
It has to be linear. It's got a check engine light. There's a code, and there's got to be a part that's broken. You replace the part, and then the code goes away. It's a very linear process, right? And it's like I feel like we're wired that way. And moving into like a shop owner position for me, that's really difficult to rewire my brain and then like unwire that and go fix a car, then come back into the office and then like rewire it back the other way because it's not linear that way. When you look at like problems in the business, and you can't just like why are my GP, why is my part slow? And you look first thing, oh, I'll just up it to this, and I'll just make sure all my parts now have this markup on it, right? And it's like that doesn't work, right? You have to like build a system for that
right.
problem, and you can't just like repair that issue. It's very interesting and frustrating all at the same time.
Well, most shop owners don't have enough. Number one, they wouldn't know what to do with the information if they had it. Number two,
That's fair.
they're not gathering any information at all. And one thing that I've always said that I learned from my coach was if you track it and measure it, you can fix it. And I still run across shops that are doing tickets on pen and paper or using QuickBooks. Like, I would almost prefer somebody use pen and paper over QuickBooks. Um, and either that or they're doing, there are some great shop management systems out there. They have that, but they don't have an income statement, and you can't run your business off of one or the other. You have to have both. There are things that you can glean short term from the shop management system, but there are things that you can glean long term. And by long term, I mean within a month or 45 days. If you're out there waiting more than 2 weeks, in my estimation, for your income statement from your bookkeeper or accountant, that's way too long. But I don't know how many people have been like, hey, I use so-and-so and our parts margin's like 54%. And then I do the numbers off the income statement. I'm like, you're closer to like 29 or 30%. And they're like, well, how can that be? And then I go into all the different reasons, like, okay, somebody could be stealing, core's not getting returned. There's 10 different things to look at once those don't match up. The other thing is shop management systems in your state especially are terrible about recording the labor margins correctly. Because if you're in California and you're paying somebody hourly for 40 hours a week and you have them down at $20 just to make the math correct or make it easy for me, but that person only bills out 20 hours, well, then it only records that technician for 20 hours cost in the shop management system, because they've all, as far as I know, there's not one shop management system that's doing this correctly, even though I've complained to multiples of them and I've asked them to fix it. Because I had a shop actually down the road from you in Slow. Our labor margin was all messed up and we couldn't figure out why. And that's why, is because he was paying the technicians with overtime like 45, 50 hours a week, and they were billing out 20, 30 hours a week. And so his labor costs were actually double what the shop management system said.
Interesting.
By the time you added the tax and benefit load and everything else in there.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important to have multiple facets of like tracking that, right? So like
Right.
we have a composite that we put together. We use what's QuickBooks, right? That goes in there. We do the
Mhm.
P&L, but every month that's what we do. We put the composites in. We look at what the shop management system put out, and for some reason they call it proficiency in our management program instead of proficiency or
Right.
productivity or whatever you want to call it. It's like
Which one do you use?
we're with Shopware,
Okay.
so yeah, using different names for that stuff too really throws
Right.
everything off. But I think
Yeah.
back to your point on like parts markup, that I think so. I've gotten this multiple times where they tell me that they're running a 50 or 60% parts GP, right? And it ends up actually just that's what their markup is. And I think
Right.
a
Not
lot
the
of I think
margin. Yeah.
I think a lot of guys get really confused of like
Yep.
what this so they're actually at like a 20 or 25%. And I've had a couple, they slowly turn into arguments because it's like no, you that's different.
Right.
Do you have a way of explaining that to get people to truly understand the difference between what your markup is and what your margin is?
So one thing I wrote a blog article about this, so it's out there. If you look, you should be able to find it. And you didn't ask me this beforehand, so it would have been easier for me to sketch it out beforehand and be like,
Sorry.
hey, so so if you take something for $50 and sell it for 100, you have a 100% markup because you took 50 and marked it up 50. So 50 of 50 is 100%. But if you do the math, you only have a 50% margin because the math to figure out margin is the cost divided by the sale. And so if you take 50 and divide it by 100, that's 0.50. So that's 50%. So it's 100% markup, but it's 50% margin.
And that's where
And
and the 50% margin is where we want to be. It's a
correct, not
little on the
markup.
low side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just did that for math because you like threw me under the bus there and I had to crawl out. So
That was pretty good.
yeah, no, well, I've explained it enough that it should be all right. So,
I
um,
no, and I get it. It's the you have to be at 100% on pretty much everything. Now that's really hard when you get to like thousand or $1,500 parts, that you're reselling.
if you're using the markup, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, then having that tiered
Yep.
style parts markup or matrix is the way
Right.
to go.
Yep.
But I just feel like there's a lot of confusion when it comes to parts, and then, I mean, I've been at shops too where they just get a part and they're like, put $20 on that. Put $30 on that, like with absolutely no math or anything behind it at
Right.
all. And it's like, cause they just don't understand it. And math is like, oh, I don't know what to do. But it's really simple if you just understand you're aiming for 100% markup, right? I mean, that's truly what we're looking for, right?
Yeah,
To
if
get
you
that
put it in
margin
those
correctly.
terms. Yeah, in order to get the 50% margin, you'd want 100% markup.
Yeah.
Um, but then I'd even have to do. Yeah, I think you're correct. I might have to smoke the calculator a little bit to figure that out. But yeah, that sounds
I try
correct.
to
I don't.
break it down to like layman's terms. So like
Yeah.
the people listening are like, that's all you need to worry about. You need to worry
Right.
about making more, not
Right.
less.
Well, what's even worse than that is I've had a shop that was in trouble and the owner never left his chair and somebody'd come in and be like, hey, I need like a timing belt, water pump, whatever. And he's like, oh, yeah, we did one of those 4 or 5 years ago. It's like $580 and doesn't have a VIN number, never looked it up, doesn't know what his cost is. And then that customer comes in and it's like, oh crap, my cost on those parts for all that was $580, let alone the labor, tax, shop supplies, everything. And then they really get into trouble. Because then do you go back to your customer and be like, hey, I told you 580, but it's really $1,600? Or out of honor, does the shop owner, whoever, eat it and go from there?
Oh man,
So
you just puts a feeling of like that pit right in the bottom of my stomach because it's like I've done that so many, especially with transmissions. Like
right,
you get so used to like the years going by, and it's $3,500, it's 4,000 or what, and then you do the number and it's a $6,000 job, and it's
right,
I can't do that, and then the
right,
vehicle's here, and it's like oh man, I got to make this phone call right now, and it's so hard, and the whole what's the calling for an estimate on the phone. It puts, I think, new shop owners especially in a really really difficult position. It's like the deer in the headlights, right? Like they want to give a number because they want to feel like they're doing the right thing,
Right. Yeah.
but it always bites them in the ass every time.
It never works out. And one of the things that we used to do is like, hey, I'm sorry, can't give you an estimate over the phone. If you want to bring it in, we'll take a look at it. That way I can give you an accurate to the penny estimate, and it's fair for you, it's fair for me. And if you're not willing to do that, then that's fine. We're just not the right shop for you.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it's hard to train that out of people when, the first thing is like, okay, our job answering the phone is to bring people in, and how do we get them in? But you just can't tell them what they hear or what they want to hear, I should say.
Yeah, and then like oh, so timing belt, it'll be between say 800 and 1200. Well, what do people hear?
800 every time. Yep.
Like, and it's like it never fails that you can even listen to the phone call after that. It's like I didn't tell them 600. I told them 800 to 1200.
Right.
But by the time they got in their car and drove to the shop, all of a sudden the $200 came off the minimum of what you told them. For some
Right.
reason, it's like every time, and I just.
Well,
But
and
I get it though. It's like hard when you're starting out.
as soon as those customers leave through that door, it's like they have a big magic eraser. And the minute they step out that door, everything that you told them, everything you talked about has been completely erased out of their brain, and there's nothing there anymore. Um, and so like what you just said about the 8 or the 1200, it's the same thing with labor rates. Like I tell people all the time, if I told you I were going to sell you a diamond ring for your wife at $810 or $899, where should I rather be? Like the customer heard the 800, but after that they didn't really hear anything else. So if you're going to be 122 on a labor rate, you might as well be at 129, because the rest of that didn't matter. All the person heard was the 1 and the 2. So,
Yeah, I could see that psychologically, and
yeah,
I've seen that from other coaching companies where they say make the number really odd so that's very
right.
difficult for someone to do the math in their head. I don't know, like if that is a tactic or if that really works, but that
Well,
way, I mean, you shouldn't be selling jobs that way anyway. You shouldn't be like, oh, my
yeah,
labor rate's one thirty seven
yeah.
99, and it's a 4.25 hour job. Like, why would you
But
say that?
if you think about most of the people that coaching companies are talking to, that's exactly who we're talking to. People that have part numbers on tickets, people that have like, oh, it's 10 hours at X dollars an hour. The psychology actually goes deeper than that. Like, I think that's the simple way to explain it. But what the studies have found is if you have, what I tell people is like price it at whatever, and then what's your lucky number, Jimmy?
Lucky number?
Yeah.
Let's call it 12.
Okay. So if you wanted to be like 160 something, I'd be like, okay, make it 169.12. Um, now I just like lucky numbers because, why not? You have lucky number on every ticket. You can't go wrong. The psychology goes back further than that. What they found is the marketing studies that they found is if you had some change hanging on the end, it made it look like you put more effort into developing your pricing strategy, and people felt more comfortable buying from you rather than somebody that said, oh, they must have rounded up a bunch because it's $130 an hour.
I see.
So psychologically, if you gave somebody 129.12 or 130, the trust was higher on the person that said 129.12 than 130. And so
Interesting.
that's
Yeah.
the deeper side of that same thing.
But the psychology is so tough because you could look at it. I mean, there's so many, like they say, so many ways to skin a cat, right? And you can look at it like so
Right.
many different ways,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like, yeah, yeah. So so many different ways because you could say like, well, the 130, um, and they're giving me all the transparency. So they're showing me the parts numbers, they're showing me how many hours they're going to work on it, and they're showing me the hourly rate. Oh, these guys, I really trust these guys because they're really showing me everything on that ticket and allowing me as the consumer to analyze and overanalyze everything on this ticket, right? And
I
it's like,
think I think if you polled people though and asked them, would you rather have pictures and videos from a great DVI or would you rather have a little bit more detail on the invoice that nobody ever reads anyway? Like like people look at the estimate and then they go in and flip you a card. They don't ever look at the finished invoice typically. I think I could be completely wrong. I think most people would say I'd rather have better um, pictures, videos, and stuff on the estimate or the DVI versus a little bit better invoice.
But again, I'm going back to marketing towards
Right.
people in our group. And it's like if I
Okay.
walk
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
auto shop, I want to see part numbers, I want to see labor times, I want to see labor rate, right? I mean, not like really technically, but you see what I'm saying? Like in my
Right.
head, if my daughter goes somewhere,
Yeah.
that's the things I want to see so I can analyze it. But
Right.
again, I'm marketing to the wrong
To the
client.
wrong client. Yeah.
And
Yep.
you're right where it's like, no, no, no. You just put the price at the bottom
Right.
and that's it. No one looks at that stuff anyway.
Yep. Nobody.
No, well, nobody that takes their car into a shop religiously is going to look at that
Right.
anyway. They just want to know that you're walking in, they're going to smile, you're going to communicate with them, you're going to fix the problem, and then you're going to give them the car back in better condition than it was.
There's two things they want to know. How much is it going to cost? And is the estimate accurate? And when am I getting my car back? If you can deliver those things, if you can over deliver on those two things, shouldn't ever have any issues with anybody. Like it goes back to the UPOD or the under promise over deliver. It's really hard with the systems we have now, but with the older systems that I had, we always overestimated by 10%. And then if we were able to do it in under, then we gave that money back to the customer. And you don't ever get any questions when that customer comes to the counter. If you told them, hey, it was going to be $1,050 and they come in to pick it up and it's like, oh, it's, we were able to save you a little bit of money. It came out to $923. They want to know how fast they can pay you and how fast they can get the hell out of there because they think you messed up and you're going to come back and charge them that extra hundred something bucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a lost art and most people don't do it anymore. And this is where people get into trouble when technicians break things and stuff like that. When we had our shop, one, because we had that little bit of fudge factor left in there. If I called you with an estimate, I never called you again until it was time to pick up the car. Under any circumstances, my service advisors were not allowed to communicate to you again until the car was ready to go. Because I don't want anybody, there's some coaching companies out there that I don't quite agree with. Like they'll do an estimate, get some of it approved, and then call back and get more of it. No, not in my shop. I want to give the customer the full story, let them make an informed decision, and then I want to fix their car, get it back to them, hopefully less than what I told them, and then faster than what I told them. And then if we can do that, we can make everybody happy.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to pull off. I mean, for us, communication is key. And
Right.
I think that was one thing that really was like a light bulb for us in the last year, over the last 7 years, however long it's been now. And the last year is like just communicating and just really to go against your point, I guess, is over communicate to a point where we're calling them at the end of the day and saying, hey, we don't have anything new for you. I just wanted to call and say hi and let you know we're still working on it and we'll be in touch tomorrow. So we do like
Well,
no update
yeah.
updates and like and I guess I don't know if that's the point you were getting to,
that's
but
fine. Like if I think that's great news. Like I don't ever want to call 3 times with bad news. Like, oh, we
okay.
did this, and then you have more bad news, and then more bad news. And then now, what's your chance of actually getting somebody on the phone? Right? Like most people, they have a text, they get email. I don't know. I guess if people are waiting for a phone call, they might answer, but most of the time they're not. And go back to your communication thing. I'm a firm believer probably 95% of the issues in the shop, like employee issues, things like that, and even external customer issues all come down to communication. And that's typically improper communication, miscommunication, lack of communication. But if your communication is really on point and you don't have any shrinking violets or anything else, if you're communicating, usually your shop runs really, really well. And if your shop's running really, really poorly, it's probably because of a communication issue.
Yeah, I've just found that it's more important, which is really weird. It's more important to talk with the clients than it is to actually fix the cars.
Right.
To an extent, I'm not saying you can't like not fix car, like you got to fix car, but it's like it's really, really strange coming to that realization of like, okay, well, as long as I'm out in the shop and I'm fixing cars, I'm doing the right thing. Meanwhile, the voicemail is getting loaded up with tons of people that are upset, right?
Right.
People just stopping by all the time, checking in. Like, I mean, how many times you've had customers just, hey, I was in the area and I wanted to stop in, check in. It's like, that's a red flag. Like, you're
Right.
doing something wrong. I think you have maybe like a small population of people that are retired and they genuinely are just like stopping by because they have literally nothing else to do.
Right. Yeah.
But if that becomes a pattern, it's like you need to communicate more. You should be calling them well before they're ever stopping in. And I just never realized that. It was like, wow, people are just a pain in my ass. And it was like, oh, it's me. I'm
Right.
too focused on fixing the cars instead of taking care of the client. It's
Right.
really like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably studies out there. I'm sure I could probably figure this number out. But number one, for the most shops, for the most part, most of our shops are productive and efficient and they're doing the best they can. Typically, the issues are like parts. Parts is a whole nother podcast, by the way, but we won't get into that. Um, uh, Outside of that, the next biggest gains in our industry are going to come from the service advisor side as far as being productive and efficient and being able to handle the volume of um, communication that's needed. And like what you're talking about, if you're not doing like 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock follow up calls or even just texts, then those people are going to call you. Hey, I haven't heard back. I haven't heard back. And, if you say you're going to contact somebody by 10 a.m., on the issue that they brought their car in for, and if you haven't called them back at 10:01 and that person calls, then you can't be all shocked that they had to reach out to you because you failed on your end.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
It just goes back to trust. I mean,
yeah,
it's those small little things to build trust.
and
And
and and our customer bases are changing rapidly and drastically. As far as the communication things goes, I've got a couple of shops where they don't even answer the phone. Like if you call them, they don't answer. Like you don't even get an option to leave a voicemail. Basically call up and said, hey, they go through a message and say, we're helping our customers that are already here. We'd love to have more information about what you need. Please text this number or send us an email and somebody will get back to you as soon as possible. And so there's no inbound phone calls for these shops. And they're very successful shops, but they've trained their customers to be like, hey, if I want in or if I have something, I have to text to get into them or shoot an email.
I could see
Um,
that. I could see that. I mean, it's just the state of that we're in right now. I mean, obviously
right.
everyone's looking for employees, right? And everyone, technician shortage, which means a service advisor shortage, which means just a all around skilled labor shortage. That's what it is.
I don't even know it's skilled. Like you can take somebody that's nice and great with customers and make them a service advisor. Like they don't have to have any technical abilities. I didn't. I told you what my background was. So imagine me writing service, not knowing what these things do. I had to learn that and then be able to have confidence in myself to sell it to people. And you can take anybody. I had a lot of great shops that picked up great service advisors during COVID because they were getting laid off from restaurants and hotels and places like that. So, as far as that goes, those people are out there. And I really think I'm fine if you disagree with me. Technicians are hard to come by, but it's not impossible. If you're a great shop, people want to work for you. Most of the people that I see that are really, really struggling with technicians, I ask them, like, well, have you hired any technicians this year? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, how many? And they're like, 15. And I'm like, and none of the 15 still work there? What's wrong with you? Like, it's not a technician problem. It's a you problem.
Yeah. I'll agree with that.
So
I think I've found myself to be guilty of that. And again, it goes back to just thinking everyone I hire is going to be me. right?
Right. Yeah.
I just think like they should have this mindset. And on your service advisor, hiring, someone from out of the industry, I think that works about half the time because half the people don't have operating procedures in place, or
Right.
they want someone with technical ability to be able to sell a job based on technical stuff because they feel like
Right.
that's the right thing to do. Right? They
Right.
don't want a salesman. They don't want someone just selling them. They want someone to explain to these customers what is wrong with their car. Why? But you know what? It's your business. So if that's what you want, then
Right.
good luck finding that fit.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, that's why you have to do a better job hiring and going through the steps and whatever, and just, hey, this is what I'm looking for. You have to know what you want first, and then you also have to know how much time you're going to put into that person. Like, I was the worst one back in the day. Like, how many times did I just hire somebody that I thought should make an excellent service advisor? They came in the first day and I was like, hey, here's the phone script. There's the phone. Good luck. And then didn't talk to him for like the rest of the day. Those people are going to fail every time if you don't like spend like, I've got shop owners now that they'll have a technician for 3 days before they even let them into the shop to work on a vehicle. Like, they're going through, like, they sit up with the service advisors and learn how the service advisor writes a ticket. They listen to the phone to see what we're doing. They go through our inventory ordering process, and then they go to like a mentor that shows them how to do a DVI if they've ever done one. Used to, as soon as that box got in the bay, man, we threw them out there and was like, hey, here's your ticket, get after it. Which is great. I think it's great. I think the industry's great and it's shifting that direction, but it's kind of like the perception. We have a long ways to go.
It's a
So,
different it's a different generation than it
right,
used to be. And not that it's good or bad or whatever, but it's like you said, you have to just mold what you want. And it goes back to like the beginning of this whole conversation is like you have to be flexible. And I think when we start the shop, we want to raise or we want to grow this shop the way the way I learned it, right? Like the way I learned to work on cars and the struggle I went through and how I was like kicked to the side or not given any big jobs and I was only able to do these, and then finally I got my first transmission job, and it's like that doesn't work anymore. But it's like in my head, that's when I started the shop, that's the culture I wanted to build, and then I
right.
realized that's not going to work. So I have to change my primary aim. I got to change my goals and my mission statement and everything. And that's a hard thing to do because it's like you went all in on this thought and now that's not working. And it just, it goes back to just that whole thing of like you got to ride the wave.
Well, interesting, about, and if you go to my YouTube channel, you can find it and just read all the comments on there. I started a survey about 18 months ago, and what it was a survey for technicians that are leaving the industry, like not thinking about leaving, but have already decided I'm leaving the industry. Screw it. I've had enough. I'm out. And so I did a YouTube short. I did a YouTube video on it, and I go, why are technicians leaving the industry? I want to know. And so we've had over 100 responses so far. I don't know how many exactly because I haven't looked in the last day or two. But what I found is that over half the technicians that are leaving the industry are leaving from the dealerships, having never worked in an independent repair shop, and they've been ruined by the dealership. So I'm going to challenge all your listeners. If you're in an independent shop and you have a buddy that works in a dealership and they're even close to thinking about leaving, try to get them into a good independent repair shop and see if that doesn't change their attitude and see if we can't keep these people in the industry.
Yeah.
The other thing that shocked me in this, I asked 10 questions, and like the very last question was, did anybody try to stop you from leaving the industry? And about half the people said no. And so that means somebody decided that they wanted to leave and nobody tried to pull them aside and say, hey, I'm sorry you're looking at leaving. Why are you looking at leaving? Et cetera. And then one of my other questions was, have you ever worked in an independent auto repair shop before? And it was like, no, over half the people. So,
Wow.
um, at least half the people leaving the industry are leaving from dealerships just because, and if you go and look through all the comments, I originally wanted to reply, but I felt like if I started replying to some of those comments, I just get everybody stirred up. It's pretty interesting to see why people are leaving and how they feel like they've been treated and things like that. And I don't know, you and I haven't talked about it, but I talk about it all the time in my podcast. I want everybody in one of my shops to be either making 100 grand a year or on the path to make 100 grand a year. And I feel like if you have a shop that can do that and take care of your customers, then everybody's happy. And your only problem is what's next.
Yeah, maintaining the margins. And I
Yeah.
think, I mean, and for us, that's a minimum. It's like as the bar gets raised, especially being in California, like
Right.
I mean, that should be the bar for everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not an easy job. It's
Absolutely
something new
not.
every day. It's hard on your body. It's hard on your mind. It's hard on your psyche. It's hard on everything. I mean, we are everything. We're plumbers, we're electricians, we're carpenters, we're all the skills wrapped up into one. And then our product goes down the highway at 80 miles an hour.
Right.
Like when's the last
Yeah.
time you saw a house going on the highway at 80 miles an hour? Maybe the
Yeah.
mobiles are manufactured, but
Right.
regardless, like
Yeah.
what's towing that house down the road, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's deserved of more income, and I think people need to get out of their own way and charge what they need to charge and stop feeling like they're ripping somebody off.
Well, and also I've never had and I just did a podcast about this. I've never had as many shops switch up their work hours or their work days as we are right now. Like
That's interesting.
we've had more shops convert to a 4-day work week in the last 18 months to 2 years than in the 10 years I was coaching prior to that. And what we're finding out is it's great. And one of the things on that survey is my body's worn out. I feel like, and then other people are like, hey, I'm in my mid 20s, I'm in my early 30s. And I feel like if I do this another 10 or 15 years, I'm not going to be able to do anything because I'll just be worn out. So, when you're talking about recruiting technicians, if you can say, hey, we're only open Monday through Thursday. Now you have to understand you're still open. Technician's still there 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And still getting 40 hours for the week, but they're in the hot shop one less day. They're commuting one less day. They can go with their family one more day. Every single shop, every single one, our productivity's increased by going to a 4-day work week. Every single one. We have not had one not do it yet.
Wow. That's a pretty interesting statistic, considering that we are planning on doing it next year in January. We were going to do it this year, and it's just like, it's a tough transition in your mind when you've done it for, 15 years for me working 8 to 5, 5 days a week.
Right.
So it's like,
I wouldn't wait. There's no reason for you to wait. Like, figure it out, do it now. And then any bugs you'll have in it will be worked out before then. Don't wait.
yeah.
Whatever the reasoning behind it is, I would tell you, go ahead and do it. Now I have had people that have failed at it because they've tried it for 2 weeks and it's like, oh, that didn't work. We're going back to our normal hours for whatever reason.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You got to commit to it.
Yeah,
right?
you
Like,
got to
I
commit.
couldn't imagine
Yeah.
2 weeks would be like any sort of statistic
it's not,
at all.
It's not even close. And like I said, I did a blog article about it and then a podcast about it. And, there's different ways, just like each shop is individually with what their expenses are. The makeup of every shop is completely different. Like I had 2 brothers that own shops in Albuquerque. They both of them did it, but one of them decided to be, okay, we're going to be open from Monday through Thursday. And the other brother is going to be open from Tuesday through Friday. And so they answer each other's phones on the days they're not there. So that case worked out really good. Had another huge diesel shop in California that it was big enough that we essentially split the staff, and the staff only worked 4 days, but we were still open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. And so half the staff worked Monday through Thursday, and the other half worked, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday through Saturday.
Interesting.
And again, part of the reason we fell into that and did that is because some of the guys were like, hey, my spouse is a nurse and she's off during the week and works on the weekend. Can I, is there a way for us to work that? And we found out that we had like 3 or 4 people on the staff that were like that way. And then we just had a couple more that kind of rolled into it. Like, yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. But so what we found is if they work 4 days a week, that gives them 1 day a week off to do all their personal errands and everything else. So you don't lose downtime for that. And then the technicians are working 10 hours a day. So they're more productive because they're in the mental space to get those things and get those jobs done and get them completed instead of breaking. Again, if there's anybody out there that listens to podcasts, I'm big on eliminating starts and stops for technicians and service advisors, whoever. Like the more time you have to start and restart a job, it used to be the data on that was like, it used to take you 12 minutes to get back in the right mind space, but it takes you almost 20 minutes now. Like if somebody stops you on a 10-hour job and you have to go do something, it's going to take you almost 20 full minutes from the time you do that and get back
To
to be
disengage
back
and then
where you
fully
were. Yeah,
re-engage. Yeah.
exactly. And so here's the thing. Like if you're in a shop and you're trying to do a high volume or just be productive, and if you pull a technician off of a 12-hour timing belt water pump job that he can do in 8 normally, like he would be able to knock that out in a day, or and if you pull that person off to do 4 oil services because you don't have a productivity apprentice there to do those, then you just lost over an hour's worth of production for that technician. Even though he's billing time out for others, now it's going to take him 12 hours or more to do that job he could have normally done in 8 because you're interrupting him.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not to mention the stuff that goes on then comes back off because like, oh, I forgot.
Right. Yeah.
You just
Oh, I
totally
broke this. I did this. Yeah.
totally lost the workflow, and it's you got to keep on. Yeah, I can't stand that.
Right.
Sometimes you can't avoid it, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, productivity killer. And that's the thing about
Right.
hard thing about going to 10 hours is like reamping the entire schedule and making sure that the cars are lined up, that you don't have a no show, because that's the biggest fear is like we get the no shows and it's like that sucks, or like having to order parts. It's like, okay, well now they're here for 10 hours and we're waiting on parts or whatever. I mean, there's always obstacles. I don't think they're ever going to go away. So I think to your point, you just got to start it sooner than later and make it
Right.
happen.
Well, hopefully you have processes and procedures for all those things already in
Right.
your 5-day shop. And then when you go, and then a lot of people are like, oh, what are my customers going to think? Most of the customers think it's great. Most of them say, I wish I had a job where I only had to work 4 days a week. And so it's like, it's not an issue. So
Yeah, they're not going to be inconvenienced. Oh, you're
yeah.
inconveniencing me. Like, no, I don't think anybody looks at it that way.
Well, and so here's the other thing, like the way to think about that is like telling people what your labor rate is and telling, people the part number. Like if somebody calls on a Thursday and says, hey, I'm having an issue, I'd like to get it in, whatever. We can't just vomit and say, oh, well, we're not open on Fridays, first thing out of the mouth. What we need to say is like, hey, I can get you in next Monday if you want to drop it off first thing or whatever. We have a drop box. I feel a lot of times we overshare, and we need to give people the information they need, but sometimes they don't need all the information.
Yeah, because how many times you call and you're booked up Friday anyway, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
and they have no problem waiting until Monday anyway.
Yep.
You just feel guilty
Yeah.
because it's like,
Right.
you want to work hard. You don't want to people know you're taking a day off, and it's like, so you have that feeling of guilt, like, well, I should be there, but we decided to take the day off. But
Well, but then it's like education, right? So like if I were you and I were going to start this, I like a couple of weeks before, I would maybe start a campaign on social media saying, hey, we're going to have a change to our hours in order to accommodate better training schedules, more work-life balance. We're going to be open these days. The hardest part about that is figuring out what to do with the phone or whatever on Fridays. Like that's the most important, because you just don't want people to call up and be looking for you and not be able to get something. So they need to be able to get somebody or email or text or something and figure that out.
yeah,
And you can roll that over to an answering service. You can answer it yourself. There's like 100 different ways to do that. But I would start out with like an awareness campaign, just telling people, hey, we're going to be able to give you better service. We're going to be able to stay and work on your vehicle longer on the days we're here, and tell them all the benefits of it, and then tell them all the benefits for your employees, and then make sure you put that video on your recruiting page on your website so that when other technicians are moving into your area, they know that you have a 4-day work week.
Yeah, it sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
What's the sweet spot you found? Because you mentioned, or we talked about real quick about like the 2 weeks and then quitting. What's the sweet spot you found when other shops commit to that, where they finally said, "Oh, this is working out"? Because of course, the first 2 3 weeks is probably pretty rocky, right?
Right.
Oh, I don't think I should keep doing this. I don't know. But when does it get to that point where they're like, "This was awesome"?
I usually within about a month, like usually
Takes
by
about
the
4 weeks, huh?
yeah, usually by the end of the month, everybody's like, holy cow. And a lot of it's because the owner's like, hey, you know what? I don't come in on the day we're closed and I might answer a phone call or two from the house, but it gives me more time at home and more time to do those things. And once the owner experiences, the owner's like, there's no way in hell we're going back to the way we were.
Yeah.
Um, and that's, I mean, that's really it. Like,
I mean, the owners know they could just leave whenever they want, right?
yeah, but owners, I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
that's you say that, but it's so hard to get an owner to separate from the business because they're like, oh, well, what do my employees think of me if I'm not there? What if this? Like I just had this conversation with the shop owner last week. Um, uh, she likes to ride her bike, but she wants to, you know, sometimes she can't do it before work. She can't do it after work. I'm like, well, if you need to cut out for 2 hours in the middle of the day and go ride your bike, it puts you in a better mental state. Number one, it lets you work through those problems and issues. And it also makes sure that you don't choke anybody to death when you get back to work. So
That's
if,
an important one.
yeah, if you're an owner and you need to leave to take your kids to school or something else, then do that. You shouldn't feel guilty. You should never feel guilty as a shop owner for anything. Unless like if you're blatantly putting the screws to somebody, then you're probably not somebody that's going to have a conscience or feel guilty anyway. But you should never feel guilty for being a business owner.
I think that's the
Like,
best point. That right there. Yeah. Most people don't realize that the ones that take advantage of people have no empathy. And the
yeah,
fact that you feel guilty about it already puts you above everybody else. And it's hard
exactly.
to like comprehend that. And I struggle with it. I mean, it took me 4 years just to like stop to eat lunch. I'd go out in my car and eat my sandwich real quick while no one was looking at me because it was like, I can't show them that I'm stopping for lunch. I have to make sure I'm here before them, I'm here after them, and I don't stop for lunch. And it's like just the weirdest, like, why am I
Right.
doing this?
Well, my wife Kimberly, it was weird. So I was the manager of the shop that we had before we bought it. And after we bought it, she's like, you have any idea how many hours a week you're working? And I'm like, maybe 60. So she started making me clock in and out. And if I woke up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and couldn't sleep, I showered, shaved, and drove to the shop because I could get more done in the 3 hours before we opened than anything else. I was working almost 90 hours a week and not even being a technician. And I will tell you, being an owner is mentally exhausting. And it's funny on my on-site checklist, like when I go and do an on-site, one of the things on there is, does the owner have a napping couch? Because if you're the owner that's always there and you don't have a napping couch, I don't know how you're doing it. Like you need to be able to shut down sometime during the day, especially if you're there 12 days a week or 12 hours a day, 5 days, 6 days a week. Like you're going to burn out. You're going to treat your wife and kids bad, or your husband and your kids bad, and you're not going to have a very well rounded life.
What do they say? Call porn from an empty cup.
Yep, exactly. Well, and then I say this all the time: like being a shop owner is like being on the airplane. When the things kick down, you know you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you help anybody else out. If the shop's not on good financial footing, if you're not taking care of your employees, then your shop is not built to last. But you, as an owner, you have to put that oxygen mask on and then save everybody else.
Great point. Well, Chris, this has been awesome. I really
Ah,
appreciate you taking time and
thanks for having
chatting
me.
with me. Yeah. And if you don't know Chris Cotton, you do a shout out to your podcast and what you
Yeah, so
help other shop owners with.
yeah, I have a weekly podcast. It comes out every Sunday. We also put it on YouTube. It's called The Weekly Blitz with Chris Cotton. You can get it Apple, Spotify. You can just go to AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching, and on YouTube and get to our YouTube channel. We're on Facebook, AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching, and then the website is autoshopcoaching.com.
And that's through the Aftermarket Radio Network still?
Yeah, it's still through the Aftermarket Radio Network. You can get to it through there as well.
Okay.
And two, I'll give them a shout out. There are a bunch of great podcasts. We didn't really talk about this. I thought about it, but versus when I was a shop owner, the only way you could get help was to either have a mentor in the industry or pay for coaching. There's millions of hours of auto shop coaching help for shop owners now that never existed before. And in the 30 seconds I started saying that, there's even more. And 5 hours from now, there's going to be even more content and everything on how to be a great shop owner. Also, I would love to have anybody as a client, or we would. We're not a great fix for everybody, but we'll, I would love to talk to you and see how we can help you. And the important thing is that you get help. Almost call it going to night school, right? Like shop owners need to go to train and go to night school, but your night school is either being involved in a peer group, a 20 group, or peer group and 20 group are the same thing, or coaching. Like that's the way you get better. That's the way you advance your shop. Sorry, that was way longer close than I wanted to do.
That's all right. How's that typically work? They call you, do like a 30-minute session, kind of,
Yeah, I'll
you do
talk
like a
to
free analysis, or how's that
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go in and go to the website, schedule a call, set up an appointment with me. I'll be the one that actually does it. It has a questionnaire. Excuse me. Has a questionnaire. Goodness gracious. It has a questionnaire. In that questionnaire, it asks several questions. Also, you can send me a copy of your income statement and your business summary. So if you do it in plenty of time, I'll have time to look over that, and I'll spend 30 minutes on the phone with anybody.
That's awesome.
And what I find a lot of times is some shops aren't big enough to really engage a coach yet. So I'll be like, hey, do these 10 things and then reach back out to me and let's see where you're at. And so I have a lot of people that talked to me a year ago that weren't big enough, but now they are, and they reach back out. So
Yeah.
the big thing is I don't ever want a shop owner to feel like they don't have a place to go, or there's no help or whatever. There are plenty of great coaching companies out there that will help you, but you got to ask. This goes back to the beginning. You can't be that stick in the mud that thinks you know it all and you're not willing to change, because if you knew it all, things would be better already and you wouldn't be having those issues.
You gotta ask.
You got to ask.
You gotta freaking ask for help, man.
Yep, for sure.
Appreciate your time, Chris. This has been
Hey,
really
thanks
good.
for having me on. I really appreciate it.